Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Savannah and this is Ciara, Kayley, and Leena. We are all graduate students in the Master of Dietetics and Nutrition program here at The Ohio State University. And this morning we're going to be teaching you about nutrition and cancer.
We're here today to talk to you about the importance of high protein and high calories in the treatment of cancer. We've got 2 delicious recipes for you guys today to follow along with us at home.
But first, let's talk about cancer and why nutrition is so important to help you heal faster and feel better. Cancer is a disease where cells in your body start growing and dividing rapidly, and they can't stop. Usually this starts as a tumor, which is a lump of these cancer cells somewhere in your body.
Eventually, these cancer cells will spread into your bloodstream and travel to other parts of your body. This is what is called metastasis.
The body normally eliminates these malicious cells before they turn cancers. However, its ability to do so goes down as we age. This is part of the reason why there's a higher risk of cancer later in life. There are many different ways to treat cancer, including radiation therapy, immunotherapy, and chemotherapy. However, a lot of these treatments come with a lot of side effects, including loss of appetite, nausea and vomiting, a change in taste, and many other side effects.
A lot of these negative side effects of cancer come about because the treatments are known as systemic. This means that they affect and attack all of the cells in your body, not just the cancerous ones. So for instance, your GI tract or your stomach and intestines could be negatively impacted by this. It might be harder for you to digest food and you also might feel nauseous. However, there are still ways to eat a healthy diet during cancer treatment to promote healing while managing these types of side effects.
We're going to be talking about ways to get more nutrients into your diet, even if you're feeling nauseous or you might be having trouble chewing and swallowing.
During treatment, you will need some extra energy, about 35 kcal per kilogram of your body weight to maintain your weight. Some food that will give you extra energy are carbohydrates, would include breads, oats, and honey, and some fats that include whole milk, butter, and nut butter. Don't be afraid to eat fats and sugars. You want to avoid foods that are not calorically dense. This is food that will fill you up without giving you a lot of energy, such as salads.
Here are some examples of foods that would be good choices to eat during cancer treatment to give you the extra energy that you need to heal. These are things like full-fat dairy, which is things like whole milk and cheese, cooked foods and mixed dishes with fruits and vegetables, like casseroles and soups, and carbohydrate foods like breads, pasta, rice, and crackers. Here are some examples of foods that would not be ideal to eat during cancer treatment. These are salads and fresh fruits and vegetables on their own. We really want to pair those fruits and vegetables with those high energy foods like fats and proteins for a well-rounded high energy meal.
While your body is healing and making new cells, you're also going to need a lot of protein. Here's a list of sources of high protein foods. Meats, fish, and dairy are all great sources of protein, so you'll want to try and incorporate at least one of these into each of your meals. Additionally, there are also vegan sources of protein, and these include soy, tofu, and legumes.
Now I want you to think about what kind of protein foods you like to eat. Pause the video if you can and go to your pantry and look at what you might have in the home right now. If there's anything that we've mentioned so far that sounds good to you to start incorporating into your meals, you can add those to your grocery list as well. If eating a lot of meat, dairy, or solid foods doesn't sound very good to you right now, don't worry. I'm going to walk you through an amazing smoothie recipe later on in our video. It's packed with protein, micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, plenty of calories, and it's 100% vegan. And just remember, if you're ever concerned about being able to get enough energy or calories into your daily diet, always make sure to mention this to your registered dietitian. They can work with you to come up with some strategies to implement more of these high energy foods into your diet based on your preferences.
Today we'll be walking you through 2 simple and delicious recipes. Both will be packed with protein and energy. The first one will be an omelet and the second one will be a smoothie. Here's a list of all the ingredients that we'll be using today.
You're going to start by washing your hands with soap and water. This is important because while you're doing cancer treatment, your immune system isn't working as well, and this will keep you from getting sick. We're going to start by cracking our eggs. And when you crack eggs, you want to crack them on a flat surface, because if you crack them on the edge of the bowl, it's going to push the shell into the egg, and we want to keep the shell out of our omelet. So we're going to tap it on the counter gently, and then put your thumbs right where you just tapped it, and pull apart the two sections of the egg. Now we'll crack our second egg. And now we want to wash our hands again because we just handled raw eggs, which can carry bacteria like salmonella. Now we're going to dice up one mushroom, which is going to end up being about 20 to 25 grams. So we've got our knife, and you're going to hold the knife by pinching the blade right next to the handle and wrapping your fingers around the handle. This gives us a really secure hold on the knife. And then with your other hand, you want to curl your fingers under so that we don't cut our fingertips. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the stem, a little bit of the stem, and then I'll cut slices of the mushroom. Now that I've got my slices, I'll do a couple slices at a time, and I'm going to cut strips. Then I'll cut the other way on these strips to cut little cubes, which is what we mean when we say we're dicing something. This would be considered a pretty small dice. And I'm just going to do that to the rest of the mushroom. Alright, now here we have about 20 grams of spinach. We already measured it out, and that's going to end up being about half a cup packed spinach. So we're going to chop this up, and you have your good hold on your knife. Just cut in strips going in one direction. Make sure that your fingers are curled under. That might feel really weird at first, but it's really going to keep your fingers safe while you're cutting up this spinach. Alright, now turn it the other way and do the same thing going the other direction. Now we're going to dice up about 1/4 of a tomato. So for a tomato, it's important to use a serrated knife, and that just means that it has these little serrations sticking out from the blade. It'll help cut through the tomato skin without smashing the tomato. So I've got my good grip on my knife, I'm curling my fingers under, and then I'm going to cut off the top of the tomato and discard that. And then I'm going to cut a couple slices off of the tomato to chop up. Now that I've got my slices, I'll just cut strips of the tomato. And then I'll cut the strips the other way.
So now that we got most of our ingredients prepared, I'm going to go ahead and start whisking our eggs. So you're going to want to take your whisk here, and then you're going to want to just break up the yolks a little bit, and then lightly start beating it, but not too hard that the egg is going to start escaping from outside of the bowl. Right. And then our chopped ingredients from before, we're going to go ahead and just start putting that into the egg mixture right here. Then I'm going to go ahead and just take the same whisk from before and just lightly whisk it in. With that done, we're going to go ahead and start preparing our chicken. So I recommend using pre-cooked chicken just because we're going to have that suppressed immune system because of the chemotherapy and everything like that. So just to be safe, we can buy pre-cooked chicken at Kroger or Giant Eagle or wherever you shop. We want about 3 ounces of pre-cooked chicken. I'll go ahead and put this on the cutting board right here. And we want to do the same thing as before, and we're going to just start cutting it into smaller cubes. And then when you have these nice smaller pieces, you can take that egg mixture that you prepared earlier, and you can put the chicken inside of it and just incorporate it into the eggs. I'm going to go ahead and take the whisk from before, and I'm just going to lightly start incorporating it into the egg once again. And then we're going to go ahead and start preparing our pan. So now that we're at our stove, we've got our pan set up. I went ahead and I used some nonstick cooking spray. You can also use some butter or some olive oil itself, but we want to have that nice greasy coating on our pan so that our omelet doesn't stick when we start cooking it. So I've already turned on my stove and I'm just letting the pan heat up a little bit before I put the egg mixture in. So now that our pan is starting to heat up, I'm just going to go ahead and take this egg mixture and I'm going to very carefully pour it into the bowl. You can use this with a spatula scraper or you can use a spoon, whatever necessary that you have in your kitchen. And then then we're just going to let it cook down until we start seeing a solidified egg mixture on the bottom before we start folding it. We can see that our egg mixture is starting to cook. I put the stove at about like a medium-high heat. Gas stoves, it might be a little bit different. It always is a little bit different depending on what kind of stove that you're using. But as you can see, I'm just running my spatula along the sides just to make sure that the edges aren't sticking. This will take about, I want to say, 5 to 6 minutes until you start seeing the solidification happening on the edges. So now that we can see this better solidification happening, I'm going to go ahead and start to flip it over, more like an omelet. And if it falls apart, that's okay. It's always going to end up in the same place anyway, in our stomachs. So if you want to use 2 utensils at the same time, you can, because this is a pretty big omelet. But if it's solidified enough, you can always use 1. But you're just going to go ahead and just take the edges under here. Just get it right under there. Make sure it's not sticking on the bottom. And we're just going to flip it over just like that. Right. It's always important to try and flip your omelet over at the same time just so that we can get an even amount of cooking on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and try my best to do that. And again, if it doesn't work, it's totally fine. Right. Get the help with my extra utensil right here. Very carefully, we're going to go ahead and flip it. There we go. Then we're just going to let that side cook a little bit longer, maybe an extra 2 to 3 minutes. And at the same time, we could take about 3 tablespoons of, not tablespoons, you could take about 3 teaspoons of cheese. And while it's still hot is when I like to sprinkle the cheese on top so that you can get some nice melting. All right, so now that our omelet is pretty much done cooking, we're going to go ahead and transfer it to a plate. So you want to be very careful with scooping it up, again, using that second utensil if you have one. And doing our best to scoot it under there and then transferring it very carefully onto our waiting.
Next, we're going to be cutting an avocado. Cutting an avocado is a little difficult, so you have to make sure that you're safe. You're going to take your knife and pinch it, and you're just going to go all the way around on your cutting board, around that middle portion. And then you're going to take it and you're going to twist it open. Next, you're going to take your spoon and just get that pit out, and then you're going to scoop out the rest of your avocado so you can cut it to garnish your omelet.
Sometimes our appetite doesn't allow us to eat as many solid foods as we would like. So sometimes during cancer treatment, it can actually be helpful if you feel more like drinking your calories. That's why we're going to show you how to make a smoothie as an alternative recipe if you are feeling maybe a little nauseous or just not really like eating a lot of solid food. This can be a really great option for you. So here laid out on the counter is all of the things that we will need. Here I have my blender and my fully cleaned and washed blender. I start by putting milk in first at the bottom. Just start pouring it in there until the blades of the blender are fully covered. Add the protein powder next right into this milk. Flip the on switch. I will slowly ramp up the speed on the blender until the protein powder gets fully mixed into the milk. Now we will continue adding ingredients. So I like to add the banana next and get that fully blended in to the milk and protein powder mixture. Next, we're going to add our frozen mango container. Add our frozen berries at the same time. Frozen spinach and our chia seeds. Chia seeds are great because they are a source of healthy unsaturated fats, so they will add more calories and more energy into your smoothie. Okay, so now that we have all of our solid ingredients, what I like to do is just top off the rest of the blender with a little bit of extra milk and water until the solid ingredients are completely covered, and then we'll start blending again. Once you have the top covered with liquid, we're going to put the lid of our blender back on and resume blending. But there is one tool with blenders that I want to show you guys really quickly. So this is called a tamper. It came with the blender. It can be really helpful for helping to stir things around in the mixture while it's running. You simply just insert it through the top. And now we get to pour it into our cups. So I'm just going to go ahead and start pouring one. As you can see, we now have this beautiful, healthy, protein, calorie, and micronutrient packed, completely vegan smoothie for you to enjoy.
We would like to thank you for taking the time to cook with us today. We hope you learned a lot about the importance of high-calorie, high-protein meals in the cancer recovery process.
So just to recap, these are the two recipes we made. We have our omelet and our smoothie. We hope you guys really enjoyed getting to learn how to cook these with us and that you tune in to more productions like this in the future.
So after this demonstration, we're going to be sending you a post-test just to gauge your understanding of what you learned today, and we would love to hear your feedback.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you have a great day.